Hey everyone. Yeah, I got about 29 minutes to do this while my nephew is playing the Wii U version of Disney Infinity 2.0, and my mom is getting her hair cut, so I figured I'd try my best to do a review on Inside Out. And I can tell you honestly, I saw it last night with my family. Originally, it almost felt like we were kind of borderlining. Should we see it? Because originally, my second older sister wanted to see it in 3D, and of course, she had promised my nephew we would see it. But you would think it's Father's Day, the father would want to see something that he likes. And because of that, it was kind of like, where do we go from here? Are we going to do Inside Out? Are we going to do Jurassic World? We ended up agreeing on, I think, Inside Out. And I think it's also the fact that my nephew's at 7 years old, and it might be a little too scary for him just yet. But unfortunately, we didn't see the movie in 3D. We just saw it in standard. But still, what can I say about this movie that I don't think anybody else has said, that Doug Walker and his brother Rob haven't said, that Black Nerd Comedy hasn't said, Andre Meadows. You know, who has not said anything positive? A majority of people who have seen this movie have basically praised it. And you can't really blame them because it's really good. I mean, from top to bottom, it's really, really good. I mean, the people they chose to voice the emotions inside Riley's head is really, really good. And honestly, I did think they were going to probably do a lustful milk gag in there. Maybe they're going to save that, and I'll explain why. But anyway, the story is just tremendous. I mean, basically, not to give much away, because I know a lot of people are going to do spoiler editions of the reviews. I might do one later, but just the fact that the movie was, just the way the pacing of the movie was just tremendous. I mean, if you were to look at any kind of antagonist in there, the antagonist wasn't much of an antagonist. It's just, okay, not to give much away, there was moments towards the end where, okay, because it gets separated in two separate plots that work entwined with each other. These are two separate plots that work intertwined with each other because basically one's working off the other in some ways. But it's during a situation wherein joy and sadness are separated from the other emotions. And they're trying to get back. And during this, anger takes advantage of the situation, in a sense. He sees opportunities that normally I think joy would usually try to say, okay, whoa, let's not do that. Let's not go there or anything. But anger has these similar situations and basically, anger I guess overdoes it a little bit. He's not thinking because he's letting the emotion that he is really get to him. He's kind of letting it go to his head, like, okay, we got to do this. And if there's a bit of an antagonist in this, it's just him, but it's only like for like a brief moment or two, or just for a few moments, like here and there. And you would think someone like Disgust might be an antagonist, and she's not. She's a protagonist, but she's more of a... But she kind of sides with anger towards the end almost, but then realizes, no, we can't do that. We can't let her do this, but it works out tremendously. And it really shows a lot of things happening. Basically, if you're a psychologist and all that, and you go see this movie, you kind of understand, like, from what they're going from the perspective of being inside the mind of a preteen, of a tween, if you will. Someone that's going through a lot at their age. I mean, here's Riley, who's basically 11, on the verge of 12 years old, preteen age. And, she is going through a huge change along with her parents. Well, mostly she is. Because for over a decade, she's known one area. She's known to live in one place. And now all of a sudden, she's living in another place. And she doesn't know much about it. And she's trying to make the best of it at first. Because, of course, she has joy and she has sadness and all that. She has all her emotions intact, if you will. But then when joy and sadness get separated, that's when things really start to break down. And I think And I think, in a sense, when you watch the movie, you kind of understand that maybe there was a reason Sadness was going and doing the things that she was. It's like, in a sense, she didn't. I mean, Sadness basically said during the movie she didn't know why she was doing this, but in a sense, it's almost like as Riley was going through the phases and growing herself, the emotions were going through the phases and growing themselves. And basically, Sadness, for some odd reason, she said she didn't know why she was doing this and that. It starts to kind of sink in, like towards the end, when you realize that she, again, not to give much away, but she kind of realizes, along with joy and the other emotions, that they got to work off each other. Like, you got to let the sadness in before you can experience the joy. Or you got to let the joy in before you experience the disgust. It's just really fun. It's just a really fun, emotional, humorous ride and everything. And it's definitely a movie to check out. I mean, it even shows you what happens as you get older with imaginary friends. Imaginary friends, as you get older, start to fade away. I mean, they're still there. There's still parts of them there. But as you get more into that preteen, adolescent age, they start to fade away. And I love what they do here. I mean, I love the fact, just checking my thing there, I love the fact that they kind of have the inside Riley's mind, and sort of inside all of our minds, they depict this big old like canyon, void, if you will. It's not an endless void, but it's basically a dump. It's a dump to where stuff gets thrown into this dump, and during time starts to fade away into nothing. Starts to disintegrate and fade away into nothing, to where it no longer matters anymore, it no longer exists. It's not important. It's gone forever. And there's a part with one of the main characters, or one of the supporting characters, that we meet along the way, along Joy and Sadness's journey to get back to their headquarters, or to the main brain headquarters of Riley. There's one character we meet along the way, and let's just say, even though he's funny and everything, and he does represent, well, we'll just put it this way, they meet Bing Bong along the way, and let's just say, even though he's funny and kind of all that, there is a part in the movie that really, makes you realize that he understands now that Riley's growing up, and that she needs to depend more on her emotions than depending on him. So again, not to try to give much away, even though I may have right there, and I do apologize. It's just one of those situations, and it's done very, very well. And overall, it's just a movie from top to bottom. You got to go and watch and see for yourself and see exactly what I'm talking about, because it is so well done. I mean, you especially get to the ending, and you're going into not just Riley's mind, but now you're going into the minds of all these other characters, even though just one-shot characters. And you kind of see how, and it's very humorous how they react to how they help their person react to someone in front of them, or to something in front of them. So it's really good. They do the inside out thing with the parents, so you see the characterizations of their thoughts and stuff inside them, and that's really good. And the ending kind of gives you that similar, how they do these little end credit deals with the additional scenes and all that. They do it there, and you see the emotions of all the other characters that have appeared throughout the film. So it's really, really nice. And again, I do recommend to go and see this, because from top to bottom is one of the better movies Pixar has ever done, if not one of the better movies Disney has done overall. In fact, as we got towards the end of the film, my mom leans over to me and says, "You got to get this film when it comes out." And when my mom says something like that, it shows you that she likes the film. Because it's like everybody has talked about, from Doug Walker, his brother Rob, Black Nerd Comedy Andre Meadows, Roger Rupert, all these people. This is a movie that adults and kids can enjoy. It's really funny, it's really emotional, and it gets you to kind of understand that emotions have to work off each other. And towards the end, you kind of see that. And it's really good because, in a sense, it gives you a lot of good character development, especially with Joy. Here's Joy, who's very positive, very outgoing, basically, wants to keep Riley happy. And kind of, at the beginning, you kind of see she takes it a little. She kind of in a sense, she kind of likes to have the spotlight mainly to her. It's like, okay, it's like, okay, all the emotions are individualized by these little spears, and then of course you got these core spears, which are the core memories, and they're sort of like the main engine that run Riley's emotions. It's the main core, basically the main engine that runs Riley. So basically towards the end, but basically all the characters, all the emotions have these little spears that appear. And let's just say not Riley, but Joy has just almost a wall. Let's just say about 90% of the wall is all Joy. That's basically what it is. 90% of the wall is all Joy, and you can kind of tell that her character develops because she realizes, and again, not to give much away, that she has to work with the other emotions more often than she has to on her own to really help Riley along the way. Even though she wants to help keep Riley happy. Now, I will say this: the movie does make way for a sequel, because again, not to give much away, and I do apologize, and I know some people might say, "Well, you're doing it anyway," but there is an ending towards the end where they get they get an upgrade with the console controller, where all of them can work all at once. You know how you get this upgrade, and you're thinking, well, only one person can be at a computer. Now they get an upgrade to where everybody can be working on the same thing at the same time. It's like, okay, here would be like Joyce doing this with her control, and then if she has to signal it over to discuss kind of works off that. It's really cool. It's really cool. And then one thing they added to the controller, to this new upgrade controller or console controller, is a button that's kind of sealed away. It's like a DEFCON 3 button, and it's called puberty. Yeah, they put a puberty button on the console that's basically sealed off until the time is right to kind of like go into DEFCON 3, open it up, and press it. So, yeah, they added that to the console, and again, it just that alone, just that upgrade of console at the end of the film, really paves the way for a sequel in a sense, because there's going to be a lot more emotions in there. There's going to be a lot more emotions. Besides the core 5 of joy, sadness, anger, fear, disgust. There's going to be the emotions of flirtation. There's going to be the emotions of annoyance. Stuff like that, rebellion. So there's definitely room to grow. And to me, when I look at Inside Out, I look at a movie that's definitely in the same vein as what Toy Story was. When Toy Story came out, people knew it was good enough, it was going to get a sequel. And then everybody saw the sequel and felt, hey, that's good enough, that's got to get a sequel. And it finally did, and that proved to be the best out of them all. I look at Inside Out as being one of those movies that's going to get a sequel, maybe 2 more. But it's going to be a series of sequels that's going to be in the same vein as Toy Story, that they're all going to be good, and you're going to want to see more. There are some sequels or prequels that you watch and you're like, why did they even make this? It doesn't make any sense. Why can't they just stick to this and be done with it? This is going to be one of those films that's going to be in that category, like I said, of a Toy Story 3, where you're going to want to see more. And it leaves the door open for that. And I'm not going to be surprised if we do get an Inside Out 2 and maybe 3 down the line. I will not be surprised. We might even get an Inside Out animated series. Who knows? Just to explore further into the mind of Riley. Now, I mentioned the fact that I thought there would be like a lustful melt gag, where maybe you would have someone like Joy melt into a puddle out of just, joy, complete overall happiness, if you will. That doesn't happen, but what we do get is a nice little scene, and again, not to give much away, but they end up going into the imagination portion of Riley's mind called Imagination Land, where they're not supposed to, and they're going into this one area that's basically off limits, and of course they're led there by the Bing Bong character, and as they go in, they end up turning into abstract art, basically because it represents abstract thought. So they turn into abstract art. At first, they go into the and basically sadness is there's like a couple of like 3 stages. So they're going into the abstract portion of it, then they go into the fall apart portion, where they basically after they turn into abstract art versions of themselves, they fall into pieces. And then, as they get close to like getting out of there, they turn into like the final phase, which is just kind of like thinned out and all that. And what happens is sadness is like, okay, what we need to do is flatten out and turn into like little flat rectangular snake kind of things, and basically crawl out of here. And that's what they do. And I think that's the closest you're ever going to get to something that, like, let's say a lustful melt or anything. But I do expect the lustful milk gag to probably appear in the sequel, should it be, should we get one, which I definitely think we will. Because, like I said, there's so much other emotions to work off of. And, like I said, we can either be introduced to new emotions, like I said, annoyance, flirtation, rebellion, or what could happen, and this could be another thing they could go with, is they could end up having the emotions evolve. Like, you could have some additional emotions added to someone like joy, like maybe flirtation, or something. And a disgust could have that annoyance added to her, and the rebellion could be added to anger. So, well, it's so much, it's already there anyway, but I mean more so. You could have them evolve and become more like evolved versions of themselves. Or like I said, you can add in those new emotions and it could work. You can have it introduced to three new characters. But I definitely see, but again, to me, Inside Out is definitely one of those movies that's going to get a sequel, in my opinion, deserves a sequel, maybe 2 more movies after this, to where you can follow Riley's emotions as she grows up and gets older and older, and you can basically expand the emotions, maybe like I said, evolve them to where they get all these new emotions added to the core emotion that they represent. So, but we'll just have to wait and see. But I definitely see a sequel coming out, and I definitely see some new emotional characters being introduced in the sequel, if not being involved into, merged into the already established characters. So, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see something like that too, if a sequel or so gets made, or even a series, to where the characters end up being merged together into one emotion, and they have to spend the movie or the episode of a series trying to get back to normal or something. So before they completely merge into one, a new emotion. So, but again, that's just my opinion of what I think could happen in a sequel or even an animated series if they were to do one. So, but my recommendation, see the movie, you'll enjoy it, and there's definitely no doubt in my mind, despite any other animated film that comes out this year, this is getting the Best Animated Picture Award at the Academy next year. No doubt about it. And I definitely see this probably dominating the Annies. I hate to say that. So, let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like, and I am out.